This is breaking news.
Good evening, I'm Sean Owsley. As we interrupt you, what you're watching right now, we have some major developments in the active shooter situation. Firefighters were killed near Canfield. A news release confirming, and I'll just read it to you verbatim. This is from Kootenai County. This evening, members of the SWAT team located a deceased male on Canfield Mountain. A firearm was found nearby. Additional information will be provided during the scheduled press briefing at 9:30 p.m. Also, and I think this is a determining factor, at this time, the shelter in place is being lifted. However, there is still an active wildfire on Canfield Mountain. Residents in the area are advised to be prepared and ready should further action need to be taken. Follow official sources for the most up-to-date information. That news release coming in to us about 7 minutes ago. Again, a deceased male with a weapon nearby has been found on Canfield Mountain. Additional information will come at the news conference, which we will carry start to finish in its entirety at 9:30. At this time, the shelter in place is being lifted, so you can read between the lines that they feel the area is more secure than it was just a short time ago. As we continue to follow this breaking story, let's bring in John Webb in the Pulse studio. So John, some key information coming out there. They have not confirmed it's the shooter, but they have confirmed that it was a male found deceased with a firearm nearby, and they have lifted the shelter-in-place order.
Yeah, Sean, I just contacted the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Lisa, the administrative director for Sheriff Norris. She took my phone call. She's going to get in touch with Public Information Officer, see if we can get that confirmed with as far as if the suspect has been detained or if they have any information regarding that. In fact, I'm going to take this phone call right now. Sean, can I just toss it back to you for a couple minutes?
I'll take it, and you let us know when you're ready if you get some key developments there. So we're going to... All right, we want to take you back. Obviously, there would be some activity at the command post and in that area. Let's go back, continuing our breaking coverage tonight with Belle Lewis.
So just now at command coverage, we have some movement of some of those big vehicles that we saw earlier, the SWAT vehicles and also some of that multi-law agency response that we were seeing earlier. That's starting to disperse. Groups are starting to head out. In fact, I'm just going to step out of camera really quickly here. Get you an idea. We still have a lot of law enforcement in the area, but we do have some of those big police vehicles, big law enforcement vehicles moving out of the way. Now, as the situation continues, we'll probably see more and more vehicles in this area start to clear in preparation for that press conference later tonight. Back to you, Sean.
Belle Lewis there at the command post, and now you can see vehicles moving around. So that news conference will be at the Emergency Operations Center at Hayden. I would imagine be with Sheriff Norris and other law enforcement agency about what they know, confirming the new information. Who is that deceased male that was found on Canfield Mountain with a firearm nearby? And then, of course, our hearts are with those at Kootenai Hospital. Let's take you there live, and Ainsley Anderson. Ainsley.
Okay. Hi, Sean. Yeah, I'm still here outside of the Kootenai Medical Center, and as you can see behind me, I'm going to have Michael Pan. They look like they are lining up a lot of the law enforcement units that have been called in today. Their lights are on, but we're not hearing any sirens. And I did speak with one man earlier today who told me that it looks like they might be getting ready for a processional, meaning that when one of their law enforcement officers does pass away, sadly, they will transport him or her to a secondary location, but they will have a lot of the emergency response units that were there at the scene come and do a follow-through, I guess, of sorts. And so, as you can see, there are many different units out here. We do have the Kootenai County Sheriff, we have Post Falls Police, we have Spokane Police, we have Coeur d'Alene Police, and we have many fire engines out here. And there are some officers that are out on the street. It looks like they are kind of reconvening, talking to one another. And also, I don't know if you can see, there are some community members out here who have brought American flags to show support. They are coming out to watch these emergency vehicles drive by. Obviously, this is a very tragic situation, but as we are learning, there is still one person that we don't know the status of, but the two officers that were killed on their way to in this situation here at the Kootenai County Medical Center, they are looking like they are prepping for a little bit of a processional here. Sean.
It's a heartbreaking scene there outside of Kootenai Hospital. Ainsley Anderson there setting up the procession. We do have a confirmation that at least 2 firefighters were killed by an active sniper. No longer active. That's where we're waiting for the clarification in the news conference, but they have found a deceased male on Canfield Mountain with a firearm nearby. They said any further updates and confirmation of who that person is, it come at 9:30 in that news conference that we will carry live. We have some breaking developments in the Pulse studio. Let's go back to John Webb. John.
I just got this press release from the Coeur Fire Department. It kind of describes the events that unfolded this afternoon, talking about how they're going to handle things off over to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, referring to that 9:30 press conference that you just mentioned. We did just get word from firefighters, though the 2 firefighters that were deceased will be escorted by local law enforcement and fire agencies to Spokane, leaving from Kootenai Health in Coeur d'Alene at 8 p.m. That's here in about 8 minutes or so. Ainsley was bringing you live pictures of what they look like to be a police procession coming up, but we just got confirmation that'll happen at 8 p.m. They're bringing the firefighters to Spokane. Where exactly at in Spokane, we don't know at this point. Ainsley Anderson will probably try and work and get some more information in regards to that. I did just get off the phone with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office as we were talking to you just a couple moments ago, Sean. We're expecting another press release from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office here in a couple of minutes. They said that they would forward that press release on to me. So once we get it, I'll be sure to hop back on the air with you here, Sean.
All right, John, and John confirming a couple of key pieces of information, brand new for all of you. John, thank you in the Pulse studio with breaking developments there. So the processional for the 2 firefighters killed will begin at 8 o'clock. You just saw Ainsley having those law enforcement vehicles line up. It is hard to see that if you've ever seen that in person and even through a screen. Hard to imagine the loss, and it's a heavy evening here in the inland Northwest as 2 of our very best have been killed by a sniper. And their bodies will be taken to Spokane. John Webb just confirming that. It's hard to use those words, Leslie, as I bring you in. So they have lifted that shelter in place. I would imagine there's still the fire burning and we have the heat. So now if their threat is reduced or nullified altogether, which they can share with each other, they haven't shared publicly with the media or anybody else, then they're able to go in and tackle that fire that's burning.
The last several hours, what an overwhelming situation and with such a sad end. I do want to talk about the wind speeds because we have been talking about this fire. We've been talking about the heat. Now again, everything has been lifted. So hoping that crews can get in there and get a handle on that fire for our friends up on Canfield Mountain. Wind speeds, they've not been a big player for today. We're seeing sustained winds at 7 miles per hour in Coeur d'Alene, which is again good news compared to what we had been seeing just over the last couple of days. Wind gust next to nothing for areas into eastern Washington over towards North Idaho, just a little bit stronger into central Washington. And then the other factor that we pay close attention to is going to be the relative humidity levels. They're sitting still at about 24%. They've been there for the last several hours. Again, this means how dry it is out there. So the conditions are incredibly dry, and the heat, we're above our average, although we're seeing temperatures in the low end of the 80s. They're about to shoot up there. In fact, we do now have heat advisories, excessive heat advisories that are in place. They'll be in place for Monday. They'll be in place through Tuesday for all areas that are shaded in orange. So we're going to take those 80-degree temperatures and now bring them up into the 90s. In fact, mid to upper 90s and triple digits is what we are expecting as we get into the first half of the week. By midweek, then there's that possibility of some isolated showers and or thunderstorms. Of course, that thunderstorms means cloud to ground lightning. That could potentially mean new fire starts. So again, I just want to go back out to our Coeur d'Alene community. Our hearts are with you and heartbroken, quite honestly, and just hoping that all the conditions hold together as they should tonight so the crews can get out there and get a handle on this fire. Sean?
All right, Leslie Lowe for us there. So the processional is expected to leave the perimeter of Kootenai Health at 8 p.m. That was confirmed from sources by our John Webb. And let's take you back to that location at Ainsley Anderson, a somber and a grim scene there where 2 firefighters were just a day on the job, responding to a fire like they had probably done hundreds, if not thousands of times. Somebody used a high-powered rifle and they lost their lives. And to their families, we are thinking of you right now, Ainsley.
Yeah, Sean, the crowds are really starting to pick up out here. There are a lot of community members coming out to watch this procession happen, and I'm going to have Michael show you. If you can see, there are even more law enforcement vehicles lighting up the street down here. It's starting to turn northbound on US 95, and as you said, we did get word that the procession is set to start at 8 p.m., and I did get to speak with a few community members who brought flags out today, and one gal I spoke with actually says she is a wife of a law enforcement officer. Luckily, her family and her husband is safe, but she says that this is just a grim scene, and this is a very, very sad day for not only just families of law enforcement, but for everybody in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, North Idaho community. And, you know, she says that being able to be out here and being able to support law enforcement officers as they go through this tragedy and as they start to clear the hospital and clear the scene is very important to her. And she says that it's really important, and she's very glad to see all of the other community members that have made their way out here, Sean.
Yeah, that live picture, just hard to see there. Ainsley Anderson, we appreciate it. Let's go back to the Pulse studio and John Webb.
We're just getting some new information from the U.S. Forest Service. All communications we're being told from the U.S. Forest Service are being sent to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I got a statement I want to read for you real quick. I spoke to Carrie Maddox. She's the PIO. I've worked with her since I was in high school covering wildfires, and the tone of her voice was very somber. And same question everybody's got tonight. Why and how could this potentially happen? A statement from the U.S. Forest Service on behalf of Carrie Maddox reads, quote, "Our heartfelt condolences go out to Kootenai County first responders, firefighters, family members, and the greater Coeur d'Alene community. The wildland fire community is inherently interagency, and when one is impacted, we all are." They go on to say, as the USDA Forest Service, we will stand together with our local government partners to offer any assistance we can throughout this tragic situation. Sean, we brought this other CG full to you just moments ago on the Pulse earlier in the evening. I want to show the picture of that's being shared on social media right now with all kinds of different fire districts from across the Inland Empire, and we typically see this when a member of law enforcement or somebody who works for a firefighting agency passes away in the line of duty. You can see that red line, CDA spelled in the middle with the blue line down below. Dozens of Facebook pages changing their profile pictures to this image. Just a somber day here in the Inland Northwest to end out June here in Idaho. Sean.
All right, John Webb. John, thank you so much. I do want to read a statement, and it really gives you a perspective of what happened. If you're just joining us here for this breaking update, a deceased male with a firearm nearby has been found on Canfield Mountain. We can also tell you that they will clarify more information in detail at the news conference, which we will carry for you live at 9:30 on the stream and on KHQ. And several hours ago, the International Association of Firefighters on Facebook posted this, which does give you context. It says, firefighter members were ambushed earlier today in a heinous act of violence in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. 2 of our brothers were killed in action while responding to a fire when they were attacked by a sniper. A 3rd brother is in surgery. So at least 3 firefighters shot. 2 of them have lost their lives. These are brave first responders that have served our community. Let's take you back to the command post where there has been a shift in tone there. Let's check back in with Belle Lewis.
Well, Sean, the vehicles have continued to clear out here over the last couple of minutes, but there are a lot in the area, so I expect it to take quite a while. I have been taking a look at some of the law enforcement people that are in the background behind me, and some of them have been shaking hands, and the tension does appear to have lessened quite a bit with the discovery, as we've mentioned, of the man with the firearm on the mountain today. So it does appear that there does seem to be some tension lifting. People are continuing to exit the scene, which, you know, we'll keep giving you updates on that, but it does look like this scene, at least for the moment, is starting to clear down. We also did see that Life Flight helicopter leave, which was the last helicopter on the scene. Back to you, Sean.
Belle Lewis live at the command post there. Belle, thank you very much. Again, a man has been found dead, a firearm nearby. They are not confirming whether it's the shooter, but they have lifted the lockdown there. So a couple of new pieces of information, when you combine them, gives you an inference of what they're operating with at this hour. There's a news conference at 9:30. We will carry it for you as breaking news in its entirety, where we are expecting to learn a lot of new information. As of right now, from all of us at NonStop Local KHQ, our hearts are with the families of all first responders that can hear my voice tonight. Absolute tragic day. in Kootenai County. Breaking news throughout the night, and we will carry that news conference at 9:30. We'll see you then. I'm Sean Owsley.
You know, when you have an environment where you don't know where the bullets are coming from because of the trees and the shrubbery and what have you, it is daunting for police officers, let alone firefighters who are there just to put out the fire.
That was Sheriff Norris at a live news conference we carried for you at 9:30, recounting the terror of the afternoon as firefighters in Kootenai County came under fire from a sniper. Tonight, we also spoke in depth with security analyst Rich Coco for analysis of the situation, the response, and the candor offered by the sheriff.
Sheriff Norris is very forthcoming. This is very helpful for the community to understand what happened this early. There are many, many questions that need to be answered. Big one is, who is it? They're going to have to provide that identification or as soon as they can. How did that person get there? Meaning there may be a car that they want to locate and search. Did somebody else bring him there? Then they're going to, of course, want to check any digital information that he has. It sounds like a cell phone was available. Does that lead to some other computer device, an iPad, a computer? Was there anything that he had telegraphed? Anybody had any idea that this was happening? So they're going to want to dig into all this and see what they can learn about the person. If there's anybody else who, may have had information in advance who could have or should have done something. But at the end of the day, the fact that they were able to end this as quickly as possible is a good thing.
We also asked Coco about the added complication of having to rapidly collect evidence as the wildfire approached and if this could complicate the overall investigation.
They have the answers that they probably need already, which is this is the shooter. They want to continue the investigation to make sure the shooter operated alone. The fact that they may have lost some evidence or some ability to recreate the entire event will certainly be troublesome and will bother a lot of the folks that are involved in this, but at the end of the day, it won't really change a lot of things here.
Now, even though the suspected shooter is dead, Coco says the work is not done. He explains what likely comes next for law enforcement.
You can expect law enforcement to do what's called a hot wash, which is a quick review of everything that occurred today. They're going to find that of the 300 different officers and agents that showed up that came there to work and to help, did everything work as smoothly as it could? Did all the communications work as smoothly as they could? That's often something that is problematic, is can all the different officers and agents speak to each other? And they'll have to take a look at that and see if there's any improvements they can make. If hopefully never, but if they ever have to do something like this again.
Some unique perspective on what happened as they responded there and what is going to happen in the investigation in the coming days. But as you heard him mention there, they know who the shooter is. They are firmly in belief that they have the person, the body of the person, that sniper, confirmed dead, a firearm found nearby on Canfield Mountain. The two firefighters killed, their bodies transported by a long processional that many of you got out on the overpasses above I-90 and witnessed. There were salutes, there were tears, there were a lot of emotions. It is a grim day. There's no other way to say that. Many of you are providing some key information to us throughout the day, and we do appreciate that. Really, it's all of our community that we're mourning the loss of these two firefighters, and we are feeling deeply for their families. And if you did reach out to us, a reminder, you can always send us breaking news. You are our eyes and ears out there. And again, our thoughts with the families of the two firefighters killed and the one fighting for their lives in the hospital right now.